Hello, thank you for joining with me. We are in A Course in Miracles workbook for students, part 2 of the workbook, section 12, What is the Ego? Lesson 335. I choose to see my brother's sinlessness. Forgiveness is a choice. I never see my brother as he is, for that is far beyond perception. What I see in him is merely what I wish to see because it stands for what I want to be the truth. It is to this alone that I respond, however much I seem to be impelled by outside happenings. I choose to see what I would look upon, and this I see in only this. My brother's sinlessness shows me that I would look upon my own. And let's go down and read footnote 150. Based on the principle that what I see in him is merely what I wish to see. If I see my brother's sinlessness, that is because I want to see his sinlessness, because I want to see my own. We can also infer the opposite. When I see my brother's sinfulness, that is because I want to see his sinfulness, because I want to see my sinfulness. And I will, back to the text, and I will see it, having chosen to behold my brother in its holy light. What could restore your memory to me except to see my brother's sinlessness? His holiness reminds me that he was created one with me and like myself. In him I find myself, capital S, and in your Son, I find the memory of you as well. And now we will go ahead and read the commentary by Alan Watson. Lesson 335. I choose to see my brother's sinlessness. This is a practice suggestion by Robert Perry. The practice I will suggest now is a very powerful one which I have used many times. I recommend using it with a number of people who come to mind. The idea behind it is that what we see sinfulness in another because that will make us see sinfulness in ourselves. And that, crazily enough, is what we are after, what our ego wants. Just let one person after another come to mind and apply the following lines to each one. I choose to see blank's sinfulness because I wanted to see my own. I choose to see blank's sinlessness because I want to see my own. That's a great exercise for what I'm choosing to go through right now, so I'm going to practice that today. This is the commentary by Alan Watson. This continues the thought from yesterday's lesson about decision and choice. Yesterday we read about choosing to follow God's voice and beholding our brother as sinless. Today we read, forgiveness is a choice. I never see my brother as he is. For this is far beyond perception. What I see in him is merely what I wish to see, because it stands for what I want to be the truth. In other words, what we see results from choices we have made about what we want to see. The text speaks about the decision for guiltlessness. It says, see the 4th paragraph in that section, that we need to make the choice to see innocence and not see guilt. If we make that decision, that is what we will see. It is startling to be told that we never see our brothers as they are. Seeing or perception, which is a dualistic form of knowing, requiring a seer separate from what is being seen, simply cannot append the reality of what we are. Apprehend the reality of what we are. What we are seeing is always a symbol, an imperfect representation. No wonder it is so easy for perception to be misperception. Misperception in terms of guilt and innocence happens like this. I see guilt in myself. I want to get rid of it, so I project it onto a brother. I see him as guilty because I want to. I have chosen to. I think this will get rid of my guilt. Correction of perception happens in reverse. I realize that I am not at peace and therefore I must have decided wrongly. I decide to see my brother as innocent. When I have truly made that choice, I will see his innocence. That is a law. You will see what you believe is there, and you believe it there because you want it there. When you want only love, love is all you will see. What we are seeing is always what we choose to see because we want to see it. It is to this alone that I respond, however much I seem to be impelled by outside happenings. The Course is obviously aware that the way it describes perception is definitely not how it seems to us. We are utterly convinced that we are seeing what we are seeing because that is the way it is. We believe it is the happenings outside of us that are forcing this perception upon us. When we see someone as guilty, it isn't because we are choosing to see them that way. They are guilty. We think we are just seeing what is the truth. The Course hears our objections and replies, no matter how much it seems that way to you, I am telling you, you are wrong. You are responding only to what you want to see, not what is really there. Forgiveness is a choice. We can see our brother as guilty or as innocent, and the choice is 100% up to us. It has nothing to do with what he did or did not do. My willingness to see my brother as innocent is the harbinger of my willingness to see myself as innocent. When I am ready to choose to see my brother as innocent, it shows that I have begun to let go of the guilt in my mind that caused me to desire to see him as guilty. Seeing one another as innocent, seeing one another as sinless, restores the memory of God to us. There is a formula that runs through the Course. First, we see the face of Christ in one another. Then we remember God. In him I find myself, and in your Son I find the memory of you as well. So, if I want to remember God, what can I do? Make a choice to see my brother as innocent instead of guilty. We find our way to God through our brothers. And if you'll please close your eyes and join with me, and I will lead us into meditation. I choose to see my brother's sinlessness. What could restore your memory to me except to see my brother's sinlessness? His holiness reminds me that he was created one with me and like myself. In him I find myself, and in your Son I find the memory of you as well. Thank you so much for joining with me in the meditation of Lesson 335. This is What is the Ego? Paragraph 3, sentences 1 through 3. The Son of God is egoless. This begins a contrast between the ego and the Son of God, our true identity. The Son of God, which is what I really am, has no ego. The ego is the sign of a limited and separated self. The Son of God is not limited or separated from God. The Son is unlimited and coextensive with the Father. Wherever God is, the Son is. They are one. There is no ego, no self that is apart from and held distinct from God. Our true self does not know the madness of the ego. The concept of the death of God or victory over him is inconceivable because the Son lives, abides in God. He lives in eternal joy and does not know sorrow or suffering. Insanity, God as enemy, sorrow, and suffering are all consequences of the ego delusion. They are as delusional and as unreal as the ego itself. Having been locked in this delusion of a separate self for so long, we can hardly begin to imagine a state of mind in which these things simply do not exist. Yet that is where the Course is taking us, beyond the ego, beyond the madness, back into the oneness that has always been and will always be. This is our true state of mind, and it calls to us in our isolation, drawing us to return. Thank you so much for joining with me in Lesson 335. I choose to see my brother's sinlessness. I love you. Thank you.